Today is a fantastic day that you need to get caught up on your table of contents. And on the last few videos, I have not been putting the page numbers down. And so if you will get caught up into your table of contents, and I'm going to just post this up for a few minutes in case you're way behind. And please make sure you're numbering your pages so that you know that you're on the correct page. Some of you haven't been doing that either. So if you even need to pause this, get caught up on the table of contents. Here it is. And today we are going to be talking about the last lesson in chapter 3, excuse me, lesson 8 is simple interest. And so we're going to be finishing up. And if you notice that this is quite a lengthy chapter that we were working with here. Did percentages of numbers, percent estimation, percent proportions, percent equation, percent changes, then found percentages of something for tax tip markup and found percentages to take off on discount. And today we're going to be working with simple interest, which also deals with, guess what? Percentages. So this whole chapter is on percents. We've been working a lot with decimals and fractions because percent means out of 100 or per 100. And so we're going to move over, and I'm going to flip my journal over here and get it kind of out of the way and switch over to our notes today, which is our simple interest. Now, I always think, wow, we're teaching this to you guys, you're 7th graders. Oh my gosh, simple interest. I didn't learn this till I was an adult, but important stuff because interest is what you pay when you buy goods. And so like if you go out and buy a couch and you can't afford it, which, you know, a lot of people can't afford a $1,000, $2,000 couch right off the bat. Then you might take out a simple loan or you might take out a credit card and you're going to be paying interest on that dollar amount and it's paid over time. Sometimes though, like in the case of example 1 here, maybe I'm putting into a savings account where it actually earns interest, which means I don't lose money, but I'm actually gaining money. So there could be positives and negatives to interest depending on the situation. So in the case of number 1, we are getting simple interest. And when I say simple, it really is. And the reason they call it is because there is other kind of interest other than simple interest that gets a little more complicated. And so simple interest is simply a formula of interest equals whatever my principal is. And we're going to talk about P, principal. And no, this isn't Mr. Norton. This P here is standing for the principal amount, but it is what I'm paying or what I'm earning my money on. So if I deposit, in the case of this problem down here, I deposit $136 into my account, then that's my principal amount. It's what I'm starting with, the principal. That's the starting amount deposited or investing. And then of course, it's P times the R, and the R is the rate. And so what it's referring to is the percentage, the rate of percentage, and sometimes it's annual. So you might see on the TV where it says, and the APR for this car, the annual percentage rate. And that's the percentage you're paying. And it'll say, you get 3% on this car. If you buy it today, it's 3% interest. APR is what they use, annual percentage rate. Then that's for 1 year, annually meaning 1 percentage rate. And so the rate is our percentage. The P is not percent here. The P here is my principal. And we're going to put this principal, like principal, like the guy that's in charge of your school. But in the case of this, the principal is the starting dollar amount. So it's principal times rate and then times time. And that has to be in years. So maybe that's 1 year. A lot of the times it's just 1 year. Sometimes it's 2 years. Sometimes it's 3 years. But it has to be in years. And if they ever give you months, like we're going to practice, then I have to write it as a fraction of a year. And there are 12 months in a year. So if I say I'm going to invest for 2 months, then that would be 2 out of 12, which I would use that fraction, and that would mean 2 months. And so you're always on your formula going to be using time in terms of years. So if you're going to use months, you have to use the 2/12 fraction. So the way I kind of remember this formula is interest is so pretty. Yeah, sometimes it is pretty, sometimes it's not. PRT, pretty. Get it? Pretty. It's principal times rate times time. So this formula can actually be found on your formula chart. So it's not something you have to memorize. So when you take the STAR test, yes, it is actually on your STAR test. I can go over here to my STAR chart for my formula chart in the front of my journal, and I can see simple interest right here, I equals PRT. And we'll also talk about compound interest, which is also on your formula chart as well. And compound is a little more complex. We'll get into that closer towards the STAR test. Okay, sorry, this is bouncing around. Let's go back over here. So I'm going to jump in. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to leave the examples up to you, but I'm going to jump down here to a few examples to do together. So we take a look at the first one, the first problem, and I just want to label the parts so that you're understanding that we are going to be using the formula interest equals principal times rate times time. And if you notice, I didn't put dots in between because when three letters are side by side, it does automatically in algebra mean multiplication. So principal times rate times time. So it's all multiplication today. So we've got $300. This is going to be called my principal. So I'm going to put a P above it. It's my starting amount. And I want to do 5% interest rate. So that's my rate. Listen to what I said, interest rate. 2 years is my time. And as long as it's in years, we're good to go. So basically, it's just principal times rate times time. But just a reminder, I can't multiply by 5%. It has a percent sign on it. So I either need to use the decimal or the fraction for that one. And I think I'll probably use the decimal. A little easy today. So we're going to do 300. We're going to be multiplying by 0.05 or 0.05, however you want to look at that, and then multiplying by 2. And just a reminder on multiplication, the commutative property says that I can multiply in any order that I want. And I'm actually going to go out of order. So 300 doubled or twice is 600. And then I'm going to multiply by that 0.05 because I prefer to make life easy in my head. So I'm going to do 600 times 0.05 here. And I'm going to lose that 0 up front because it's not necessary. And I'm going to move my happy memory cloud 2 places on my decimal. So I've got 0030. And I don't have to multiply, hug and kiss, don't have to multiply by that 0. So I simply move my decimal 2 places over, 1, 2, and I get $30. So my interest is $30. So I'm going to put I equals 30 bucks. So that means that I'm going to earn $30 on an account. If I put $300 into an account that earns 5% interest over a 2-year span of time, I'll only make $30. But it's something. And your checking accounts and most banks don't make that much. So at least it's making something. Discover card sometimes gives you 5% back on your purchases. So if I spend, and then you wait, of course you're going to pay way more or spend more than $300 a month. Most people do. And that could add up to a lot of bucks at the end. But anyway, that's your interest. That's your simple interest. Simple interest is PRT. So pretty basic today, just doing this lesson. We can go ahead and do a couple more of these just to get the hang of it. So I'm going to go over to $650 here for 8%. So again, this is my principal, this is my rate, and that's over a 3-year span of time. As long as it's in years, we're okay. So this will be 650 times 0.08 times 3. And again, I can multiply in any order that I possibly want. I don't know, I kind of like doing 8 times 3 here. We'll change it up a little bit. That's 24. And just a reminder that I have 2 decimal places to move the decimal. So it's going to be there. And I'm going to multiply the 0.24 times 650. So not too bad on the math there. Try to make life easy as much as possible. And again, that's 0.24. So I have 2 movements of the decimal to go. And just a reminder, that's a 3 in case you're having a hard time reading it there. So that's 0, 20, carry 2, 24 and 2 is 26, hug and a kiss. And I get 2, 0, 2 times 5 is 10, carry 1, 12 and 1 is 13, 0, 0, 6, 5, 1, and move my decimal 2 places to the left. So that means over a 3-year span of time at an 8% interest rate on $650 that I put into the account, I will have earned an additional $156 in interest. Now, sometimes the question might ask, what did they make at the end of the 3 years? Then you would have to add that 156 back to the 650 to see how much is in my account altogether. And that's really kind of fun because that would be giving me my 800 and let's see, 610, yeah, $806 that I would be now having in my account instead of 650. Woohoo, made some money. And so that's what we're talking about there. Let's go ahead and go down to 2.5 years. So if you know this is 2.5, that would be 2.5. As long as it's in years, you're going to be multiplying by 2.5, 2.5. Don't use the fraction. It's not as easy as the decimal. And then I'm going to multiply it by 0.07, and I'm going to multiply by 735. So this is principal times rate times time, PRT. And I just multiply those three. I'm not going to go through the math right now. I'm just setting this up, okay? So on this one, I have my principal of $2,105 at 11% interest rate. That's my rate over a time of 1 3/4 years. And again, it's in years, so we're good. And 1 3/4 is the same as 1.75. So I will be multiplying that by 0.11, and I'll be multiplying that by 2,105. Okay, so a lot of this is just setting it up. Interest equals principal times rate times time. Now, for the sake of time, I'm just going to go ahead and use my calculator here just to get the answers so that you understand when you can check it and make sure you understand your notes. That I'm taking the $735 and I'm multiplying by 0.07, and then I'm multiplying again by the 2.5, and I wind up getting, on this calculator, I just have to change it to a decimal. So again, I'm going to round to the nearest penny. Always, always, always. So my interest here would equal $128.63 in interest that I would be making. On the problem right below that, I have the $2,105. I'm going to be multiplying by decimal 11 and multiplying by 1.75 because 3/4 is 75 cents. And then I'm going to change it to my decimal here. And so on this one, the interest is kind of large, 11%, but that's a large dollar amount. So it's $405.21 because the 2 is 4 or less. So I say 21 cents. And so that's how much interest is going to be earned on that one. And I'm going to do one more. And you notice I'm using the calculator on your practice in class. I will let you use the calculator to check your work, but I do want you to practice using some of your skills on multiplication on these. This one again, oh my gosh, I've got my principal, I've got my rate, but the problem is the time here is in months. So back to that, the formula for time has to be in years. I'm just going to put this over 12 because there's 12 months in a year. So this one's actually going to be a fraction, 3/12. But if you know that I can divide top and bottom by 3, this is a quarter fraction. And so actually should be really easy to know that this is just 0.25 that I'm multiplying by. And that should make life a little easier. So get the fraction, get the decimal, or I could use the fraction if I want. 19% is 0.19, and I'm multiplying by 4,275. And so I'm going to be doing the multiplication on that. So sorry about that. Let me get this switched back. Got interrupted. And so you're just going to multiply these out. So I got my 4,275. Whoops, got to put my calculator down here. 4,275. I'm going to be multiplying by my 0.19, and I'm going to be multiplying by 0.25, which is a quarter of a year. And my decimal on that would be $203.06. Because again, the 2 here leaves the 6 alone. So $203.06. $203.06. And that should be my total on my interest right there for 3 months. So not earning a great amount, but hey, that's $203 is pretty amazing. And a lot of that's due because the percentage is high, even though it's over a short period of time, which is just the 3 months here. And 3 months again is 3/12. So just to set up a couple of these over here and not actually work them out, and sorry for the delay, it looks like my internet might be acting up a little bit. Up here on number 3, it says 4 years, so it would just stay 4 years. This is 3 years, so it'd just stay 3 years. And again, just changing these to decimals, so it'd be 0.045 times the 4 times the $575. So it's just principal times rate times time. On number 5, it's the 1,665 principal times 0.0675. Boy, that's ugly. Times the 3, principal times rate times time. But then we get down to the months. And so this is 18 months, which is over a year. So if you know that this is over a year or over 12 months, then you might know that this is the same as 1 year of time with 6 out of 12 months left, because I subtract a group of 12 and that leaves me 6 months, or 1 1/2. And so making this easier, it's just 1.5 years. And so that's just doing a little converting there. And then I'm going to multiply that 1.5 times 0.0875. And some of you are going to have problems with this because remember, you got to move the decimal 2 places. So it's crazy that I got 4 decimals there, but there were already 2 decimals to begin with. So moving it 2 more puts 2 more decimal places up front, and then multiply by the $903. Okay. And so basically that's it. I'm not going to finish out the multiplication. I just set up those last 3. Make sure you put those on your page so you just get examples there to go by. And that's it for this lesson. And we are done with chapter 3. And we just finished up lesson 8. So you know the test is right around the corner. Y'all take care.